What is going on? Welcome back. Third and 20 Dynasty stock market. Just me and JT this time around. JT, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I mean, hey Frank, we listened to all the critics. They knew. No Jake, no Lunas. They just want the true real deal, and that's us. That's us.
Yeah, the true
So
stonkers.
giving the people what they want.
Speaking of being a true stonker, listen, I'm gonna victory lap this one.
Okay.
I bought Zach Wilson last week, right? One of the biggest followers. People thought he tore his ACL. Turns out he didn't. But because of that news, his price is sunk. He went down 400. But your boy is still the biggest riser this week. Out of all these chumps, except for JT. You're no chump, JT.
Yeah,
I believe
no
in you
chump.
long term.
Thank you.
But somehow I was shocked at that. I was like, dude, dang, I'm going down. Like this, I was actually scared that Lunas was going to overtake me this week.
You did mention that. I think that was just yesterday on the pod, but I I'm shocked my team didn't go up way higher because I thought the players I got. I mean, Trey Lance did go up a bunch, right? Like he had that perfect passer rating. Romeo Dobbs is Romeo Dobbs, whatever. But like Sky Moore, I thought had a really nice catch. Sam Howell was playing really well. Like I thought the guys that I went out and bought last week were going to get a bigger boost than what they did.
Yeah, I mean, George Pickens' value is crazy. He's up to 4,400. That's wild. Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, might as well just get into the biggest risers and fallers for this week. Let me scroll over there. Shaboom.
Shaboom.
Okay, yeah. So biggest risers and fall. Tristan Ebner's out there. Okay. Isaiah Pacheco and George Pickens are the biggest risers this week. Falling behind him, Damian Pierce, Malik Willis, Brian Robinson, Danny Gray. I mean, it's the week of rookies, right? All the biggest risers are the rookies that are doing well in preseason. Trey Lance, Dobbs, the next guy's highest up. Joshua Kelly, Kenneth Walker somehow. I agree with you because you were saying before Kenneth Walker is probably going to go down with the injury news.
Yep. Need some procedure done. I'm thinking he's going to miss at least week 1 at this point.
I am shocked at Malik Willis's value. Like, did he just have good stats for the preseason game or something?
He ran in for a touchdown, so
because
rushing upside.
I watched a couple of his plays from the preseason game, and I mean, at least to me, it's clear as day. This guy's not ready to play. He's just not ready to play.
The Titans are even telling you that. Like Vrabel himself will say that, but people are just like, no, Malik Willis, he can run, he can throw, he's good.
I mean, he's valued like 405. Like, there's a significant gap right now on Keep Trade Cut between Malik Willis and Ryan Tannehill. I mean, on Keep Trade Cut, you think Ryan Tannehill lost his fucking leg? It's absurd.
I'm kicking myself because Jamal Williams got that 143-point Hard Knocks bump that I knew he was going to get.
Knocks bump.
I knew he was going to get, and I just didn't get him anyway.
All right, but let's go to the biggest fallers. Ronald Jones, the biggest faller this week. I think that was a little bit surprising. I think that the easy betting favorite would have been Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen multiple people say he's a potential cut candidate at this point. So, he went from vying for the running back 1 job on the Kansas City Chiefs offense to now maybe not even on the team. I could see why he's dropping like a rock.
I really don't think he's going to get cut.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's that great. He's running with like the 2s and 3s. Sometimes he's even the 4th running back. My thing is, I'm surprised that maybe time just hasn't taken over yet, but I'm surprised Antonio Gibson hasn't been the biggest follower this week because it's just bad news after bad news, I feel like, when I see him.
I mean, he's just been falling for so long, I guess, that it's just like, where's the bottom? I feel like it's got to be around here. Zach Wilson right now is still at his career low. Even like the positive news that he had about the injury not being super severe, there was no bump. It's just, he's just been down.
Yeah. Well, I still don't know when his timetable is to return. Like, I know it's not a torn ACL, so he's not out for the year, so it's obviously better than originally thought. But like,
You gotta imagine by week 4 he's probably gonna be playing, right?
I don't know. I don't know. They said they're gonna be careful with him, so I don't know. I mean, maybe, probably. But
So
what's tough too though is like they start off with such a tough opening
yeah,
schedule.
they play the AFC North all 4 games in a row.
Yeah. So I
It's
mean,
just brutal. That is fucking
The
brutal.
Jets are probably going to look just awful right off the bat, whether or not they have Zach Wilson.
What if Joe Flacco goes out there, slings the pill, beats the Ravens week 1, revenge game for Joe
Yeah,
Flacco?
revenge game. I doubt it. Strongly doubt it.
I'm surprised to see Rashad Penny on the biggest fall list. I think he's actually gonna be one of my buys this week because of the Kenneth Walker news and the fact that I just think he's gonna have a strong start to the season. Um, so speaking of potential moves, I mean JT, let's start kicking it off here.
All right. Well, we could just kick it off straight away with Jake's buys. He doesn't have a whole lot.
All right, sure.
So he's selling Rondell Moore, which I found to be interesting because he was someone I was looking at and considering getting.
Same.
But he's selling Rondell Moore as well as James Robinson. Another one where this one I guess I understand a little more because it's like who knows what the deal is with this backfield and if how relevant any of them will be. So he's selling Rondell Moore, James Robinson, and he's buying Saquon Barkley. Full in on the hype.
Yeah, Saquon was on the biggest risers list, just more towards the bottom. Apparently, word out of Giants camp is that he's going to be getting like a nuts workload. That was the report.
I believe it.
Yeah, I believe it as well. We want to get through Lunas's moves as well.
Yeah, so he is selling Kadarius Toney and A.K. Dobbins. I'm not sure. Okay. Selling Kadarius Toney and J.K. Dobbins, and then he's buying A.J. Brown and Ramondre Stevenson.
Let's see. There's going to be dots in A.J. Brown's name.
Yeah, there's.
A.J. Brown and Ramondre going in on the Patriots hype. Wasn't Lunas like a week ago saying to never buy into Patriots running back hype?
I feel like that's always Lunas. And then selling J.K. Dobbins after being so high on him and J.K. Dobbins coming back. I don't know. This just feels like a counter Lunas.
Yeah, it feels like a counter Lunas week.
I don't know. It's the only thing that is Lunas is buying A.J. Brown. The other stuff, selling Toney, Dobbins, buying Stevenson, not Lunas moves.
All right, so I'm going to get on with my sells here. And I'm going to be pretty active here. I'm going to be selling Romeo Dobbs. Got my nice boost on him. I'm out. I'm going to sell Wan'Dale Robinson.
Oh, okay.
Quick stonkage move. I'm going to sell Daniel Bellinger.
I think I'm copying all of the moves that you're saying so far.
I'm going to sell Isaiah Pacheco. Now, I'm debating selling George Pickens. I don't know. I feel like this is about his ceiling, but at the same time, I think that his realistic ceiling is where Olave's priced at like 4,700. So I might just wait a week to sell him. I was initially going to sell him. I still think I could juice another 100, 200, 300 points out of him.
Yeah, the hype train is just not entering back into the station. It's gone. I think it's just full steam ahead for George Pickens at this point.
All right, so you're selling Daniel Bellinger.
Yeah, I'm selling Bellinger, Dobbs, and Wan'Dale. So 3 of the guys that you said.
You got any other sells, Mr. JT?
Yeah. My guy Terrace Marshall, just gonna sell him. Didn't really do much, and Curtis Samuel as well. I will sell. So I should have like 10K in the bank.
Yeah, we both got about 10K. My
All right,
first
I'll be
buy,
buying
I'm gonna
Patrick
get this
Mahomes.
one. My first buy, I'm just gonna get out of the way simply because I think this guy. This is more of like a week one buy, but at the same time, I do think there is a potential chance I could get some camp hype now that we're getting into the latter stages. Is Jameson Crowder? He's at 1,046. I just think, simply put, that's incredibly underpriced. I could see this guy almost doubling in price after the first couple weeks of the season. I do
Oh,
project him to be in the primary receiver in the slot role. Kind of like we saw last year. I think that a guy like Isaiah McKenzie is going to operate more as like a rotational outside type player or second slot type player, whereas Jamison Crowder will be that main slot player, especially in three receiver sets.
yeah. And so people watching the YouTube will have seen. You just reminded me too. I also want to sell Khalil Shakir. Just get out on Bills player. Do I
Did
sell?
you delete him?
Yeah, I deleted him.
Okay, perfect.
So I'm saying at 11K in the bank. All right, what's the next movie you're considering?
So the next couple players I'm considering buying, Rashad Penny is up there.
Mm-hmm.
Traylon Burks is up there. Christian Kirk and Michael Gallup, two guys that I've kind of been buying and selling. I don't. The thing about Gallup, why I kind of want to buy him now, is that I feel like we're going to get that, oh, he's practicing report pretty soon. And I'm wondering what that's going to do to his value. I feel like that could be an easy 200, 300 point boost
Mm-hmm.
that I might not want to miss out. He's more what I was targeting for like beginning of the season buy right when he's back, but that's a potential value boost. Um, Other than that, I'm not really sure. Like maybe going back in on a guy like Kyle Pitts, because I do agree with you that I just think the gap between him and the other elite players like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Jonathan Taylor is a lot wider than it realistically should be. So he's a pretty attractive player as well, just to buy and hold as we get through these last couple weeks of training camp.
Um, I'm thinking of maybe going crazy with the two guys I get.
What are you thinking?
I don't know if I have enough for it right now. Is the issue? I'm just. I don't think I do, so I might have to sell one more player. But I'm thinking about just going in on Javante Williams and Brees Hall, and just
The
being like,
Young Bucks.
yeah, get the young. I mean, because Javante Williams was like 800 points higher than what he was, than what he is now, just like 4 months ago, and that's all because Melvin Gordon was staying. But you had Melvin Gordon saying today, like, this is Javante's backfield essentially, and then Brees
Hmm.
Hall is just pretty cheap in my opinion for what he could be, which is a young elite running back. At the price of 5,600.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you on the Javante pickup.
All right, we're the Javante guys.
Well, the thing is that you kind of like. I do agree because I have Javante in one of my in a couple leagues, and I absolutely love Javante, and I'm getting some good offers for him, but I just don't want to sell him
Mhm.
at this price. So I agree that I think that his keep trade cut price should be a little bit higher. But at the same time, I think that that report, because you're right, the main concern is that Melvin Gordon is there. This report, I think, could easily boost him up 150, 200 points. And
Mhm.
considering I don't really love any of the buys right now, because I'm just kind of scared that a guy like Christian Kirk is going to lose 100 points over the from this week to next week, or like how is he going to go up? He's
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
So I feel like I'm just wasting points buying him now, like a week early almost.
yeah. I think that's what I'm definitely gonna go buy Javante.
Can I afford Rashad Penny? I don't think I can. No, I can't. Rats.
Who? So you've bought Javante and you bought Jameson Crowder. Am I missing someone?
Yes.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Can you buy Cole Beasley? Is Cole Beasley allowed? I
I
don't think
doubt it.
so.
Yeah.
He's valued at 27. That's hilarious.
It's kind of surprising he's even on there right now.
I think him and Will Fuller are going to sign pretty soon here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna buy Brees Hall officially because I do have enough. I now have a bank of 58, but
Okay, a little Brees Hall action. I've got 2,500. Who do I buy? I can't afford any of my targets. They're all just pricing me out just a little bit. Let me see who's around 2,500 that I can spend some cash on. Marcus Mariota.
I like him.
What do you think about Cordarrelle Patterson's price at 2,100?
Didn't they just say it was like a true open backfield competition or something? I thought that's what was coming out of
Okay, like not even
Atlanta.
necessarily for the segment, but just like him as a player in general. Like, what is your opinion on him? He's a weird one.
If the price that he is, I think it's worth going in on to see if he could recreate the magic, because then essentially, what did you say, 2,200? I don't know what that translates to in terms of picks, like a
He's
early
on
third.
that weird gap between an early third and late second, probably
Yeah.
more towards the early third territory.
I mean, a third to try and recreate that, maybe even 2/3 to try and recreate that magic and essentially give you a crazy good flex play.
What about
I'd be
Johnu
going in.
Smith picking him up for 1150?
I thought that was, had I had more. Do I want to sell anyone else? Like, I'm looking at like Matt Corral, and I'm just wondering if I should just sell Matt Corral for Jonnu Smith.
I think I'm gonna pick up Johnu. What's going on, Joe Herbert? How you doing, dude?
Ebear or a bear, Frank.
A Bear. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's ingrained in my mind now. I see it in non-existent R.
You convinced me. I sold Jonnu. I sold Matt Corral for Jonnu.
Because there's the Hunter Henry injury that just happened, even though it's minor. Apparently, he's been having a good camp against the Panthers. How much do I have right now? Are you looking at it?
So all you just did was just buy Jonnu. You didn't do anything else.
Yeah.
So give me 1 second. You then should have 1443.
1443. Should I buy a 2024 early third?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yikes! This is a weird number to have. I could get on the Isaiah Likely train. I just don't really want him.
I don't want to either.
Fuck, this is not fun. Maybe Zay Jones?
Ogletree for the Colts officially tore his ACL. That doesn't really affect anything for me, but maybe Jelani Woodstock's go up a little bit.
See, this would be a great time if I initially came in and didn't buy Jamison Crowder, for me to realize that he's only 1,046 and just buy him and then be done.
That would be the time. Now
that would be ideal. Dude, Geno Smith is 6 points away from me being able to buy him. I would buy Geno.
I don't know. Drew Lock has now entered the quarterback competition. He was taking snaps with the ones recently.
Go ahead.
I don't like either. One of them will be worth more. It's just I don't really know who's actually going to win.
I mean, the problem that I have is that there's like 10 backup quarterbacks worth more than Geno Smith right now. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, well, those at least have like long-term value, like potentially. Like, I'm sure 4 or 5 of them are rookies / young guys, and like Jimmy G.
Damn, I really don't know to. Wait, how much do I have? 1443?
Yep.
Fuck, I'm 5 points off Robert Tonyan. And like 9 points or 8 points off Jelani Woods. 2 guys that I would love to buy.
Yeah, we've just been hard holding Will Fuller. He's the lowest on your team
He's
right
gonna
now. So
sign.
yeah,
It's gonna happen. It's gonna
Johnu
fucking happen.
Johnu Smith, Jameson Crowder are the next two lowest on your team. Then Juju. Juju is your next lowest. Or no,
Yeah,
actually Zach Wilson at this point.
I've kind of been I've had a lot of guys in that like 2,800 to like 4.5K range. That's been my team for the most part recently.
Zach Wilson being cheaper than Juju,
I think he's gonna go up.
I think I'm gonna sell Trevor Lawrence and buy Zach Wilson.
I just think that because the positive news off of the it's not an ACL tear has not happened yet. I think it's kind of like free points.
All right, I'm gonna buy Zach Wilson. Sell Trevor Lawrence. Buy.
What
Zach
about
Wilson.
Raheem Mostert?
Go ahead. I have no clue what that backfield situation is.
Exactly.
He's supposed to be the guy. So I guess if you're just buying the cheapest guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess that is a play.
Exhibit A. Who knows?
Oh wait, now that I got rid of Trevor Lawrence, though, I should have Google Sheets. I hate. I don't know why it's significantly worse than Excel. But
actually,
I do have points to play around.
I don't love this, but he got some hype recently, so I'll do it. I'm really pulling a Lunas here. Hayden Hurst.
Ooh.
I actually do still like Hayden Hurst, and I think like as of right now in startups, he's a really good. If you need that stopgap tight end in like round 15, go ahead. I don't think it's the best deal ever, but like former first round pick, this is still only going to be like his fourth or fifth season in the league. So he's kind of one of those dudes that the age is a little bit higher than you honestly think, and the years of experience is pretty low. He's kind of like a pseudo vet, right? Where it's like you think the dude's like 35, but he's just not. Just moved into a situation where he could actually be a consistent target in an offense for once, like because he's kind of just been a professional cuck.
Wow.
I mean, he has.
That's a way to describe it. Yeah, I guess.
Mark Andrews was there for the Ravens initially, and it's just like, well, sorry, bud. He just kind of happens to be one of the better tight ends in the league now. And then all of a sudden, oh, shit, I go to Atlanta. And then Kyle Pitts, the other really good young tight end in the league right now, shows up. And I mean, if anything, that's signaling that Cincinnati's going to get one of these top young tight ends next year. It's going to happen, right? Like, they're going to pick up Michael Mayer or that kid from Georgia or something.
I don't really like Michael Mayer.
Oh, he's a beast. Overrated. I like him.
I'm now wondering who I should buy, though. I have a little under 2K to work with. Kenny Galladay is just so cheap at this point, and like people are hating on him.
Yeah, hard. That's a tough. I don't know. I think the Giants, like, it is one of those situations that you look at and you're like, okay, there could definitely be some value here. You just look at the list of receivers on there, but at the same time, like, I feel like that was something that could have been said about the Patriots receiving core last year. And then there's gonna be one dude who's like goodish, like a Jacoby Myers. But at the end of the day, like, are any of these guys really like great? Probably not. I think that's the problem with the Giants, is that like a lot of their team just needs an overhaul, especially at the receiver position.
I think I'm going to get sucked into it. I'm going to just buy Bryan Edwards. I mean, Drake London has that injury. I think they're going to hold him out for a week. Bryan Edwards came back to practice recently. We know how the hype gets with him. If he gets going, I'll buy Bryan Edwards.
Love your conversation late yesterday on Rookie Draft Theory. Post that as its own entity. Are you talking about like the separation talk that we were having? We can talk more about some of that stuff. I am curious to see what you guys like and dislike. So if those are the topics and conversations you guys want to hear, we can try to incorporate more of that stuff into the regular topics.
I think we just set Lunas off for 10 minutes and see what he could come up with. Just like, here's your 10 minutes, Lunas, go.
Yeah,
um,
that's just like the equivalent of you put a bunch of topics on the floor and then you cut the head off the chicken and let it run around and see which
yeah.
one it lands on.
Just see how many takes Lunas can back himself into.
Let's,
But
JT, you want to do something interesting? Let's see how many different bets Lunas can have on Miles Sanders this year.
all right, I like that. I like that.
Like, let's just find, like, actually not even just Miles, let's just find a list of 5 of the players that we know he likes that we just don't think are that good and
Yeah,
just
because
lock him into so many takes. Like,
to be fair, I kind of do like Miles Sanders. So yeah, maybe we could find. I mean, Christian Watson was one. I'll come up with it. Yeah, all right. But yeah, shout out Joe. Because I do like that kind of feedback. About what you want to hear more of. It's always tough trying to come up with different, new, and exciting things to talk about.
so yeah, I'm just curious, was that the separation talk or was that the right after the players that we think are overvalued? I'm curious as to, because we were kind of just, yeah, yes, the separation talk. All right, yeah,
Yeah, I was
thank
gonna
you.
say
And yeah, maybe we could start trying to get some more stats and stuff involved if we kind of know the topics a little bit in advance, because that was just kind of off the top of our heads. That wasn't really planned or anything.
that was just a moment of passion from me being upset about separation. I'll die on that hill. Separation overrated.
We'll see. I mean, I guess going back into it really quickly, I've seen some dudes do this on Twitter, but
Mm-hmm.
I've seen guys like cluster receivers into different types. Because kind of piggybacking off what I said yesterday, like the common consensus is that there's 3 types of receivers: X, Z, slot. And I just don't think
Mm-hmm.
that's realistic. I don't think that's accurate. So I think that separation is a
Yeah.
metric that matters for like maybe 2 or 3 of the 9 or 10 or 12
What
receiver clusters.
What would you say Elijah Moore is if you were trying to put him in one of those prototypical XZ slot? So I think he's just a
Um,
weird one in general that he could kind of do whatever.
I guess he's. See, this is where we start getting more nuanced, right? Because I think a lot of the, not a lot, but a good amount of the good receivers in the league these days, right? I think Justin Jefferson and Cooper Cup are kind of the forefront of this, is that they're just being used all over. Like they have the skill set and the ability to where they'll be hidden in the slot. They're going to be used on the outside. They're going to be on the outside, but in a condensed split. They're going to be used at every position in the bunch. Now they're even lining up in the fucking backfield, right? Like there's not this traditional. Oh yeah, well not as much because you see a guy like DK Metcalf, or even the way that the Eagles used Devontae Smith last year. They were like, okay, you are an outside receiver. You are lining up on the outside. We are not going to line you up in these, for the most part, these weird spots. Like 85% of the time, you can guess and bet on where they're going to line up on the play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I think is
I
one of the other reasons we saw Devontae Smith have a lower separation than expected, is because they were using him in a non-separation esque role.
I will say it was kind of funny to hear you have this serious talk, and I wasn't looking at the stream. I was looking at our sheet and then tabbing over and seeing you talk serious with the sunglasses on. So this is a very funny.
Well, yeah, I can't wear the others because I don't think that these ones are polarized or whatever the hell the term is for like blocking sunlight. Um, or I think any light, because I can't see this monitor. Basically, I guess for those who don't know, I've got like a 3 monitor setup going on with like the stream setup on one, the sheet to my right, and then the actual like camera setup in front of me. And if I put these on, I can't see any of the screens, or at least the other sunglasses I have. These ones I can see all the screens perfectly fine.
Oh yeah, so that means those aren't polarized.
And they're a bottle opener.
This guy. Joe just said film versus analytics, good topic. Yeah,
See, I hate that I'm a both. I'm a both.
both.
I used to be a Phil. See, to me, I think I have a firm opinion on this. I think analytics is more important for the top round draft picks. For your top 15 picks in the draft, I like analytics a lot more, especially at the receiver position. And even fucking like tight ends, like whatever, all right? I'll do analytics for the top guys for the most part. And then once we get outside of that and we're betting on outliers, I want film because I just don't think you're going to find a consistent metric that's going to predict a guy completely outproducing the profile that he's shown.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Because I think the whole point of the analytics is like it's not like you're identifying the hit rates and everything, and you know you're saying it's 90% likely that this guy will not bust, kind of thing, instead of
I think
this
for the
guy's
later round picks, it's actually better just for identifying who not to draft.
Hmm.
You know, if you're able to take a look at a pile of crap, right? A pile of, we have 50 receivers that are drafted and undrafted after round 3, let's say, and you're able to completely, with 95% confidence, say these 25 are not going to be good. I just think that's way more valuable than saying, oh, yeah, this guy has a 15% chance of being good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially like if you get a guy like, now this was to me, what's his name? The Chiefs dude.
Sky Moore?
No,
Isaiah
no, no,
Pacheco?
no, 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 the Justin Ross.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you have a guy like him, right? You have a model or some sort of process. It's like, okay, he's got a 7% chance of breaking out. And then you're in a situation like us in our rebuild league where we can sell him for a third and you're able to get the average hit rate of a third round pick. It's like, okay, well, you know, you can take the difference between the two. And to me, the third round pick is just better. So you do that all the time. So you just mass offer him out for a third.
Yeah, even I was, I was the biggest on Justin Ross, and for a third round pick, I thought that was a solid play. Um, I'm thinking of like how we could also structure different. If you're watching the Dynasty stock market, welcome to Frank and JT figuring out the podcast now. I don't think we have any more moves, so
I don't have any moves, but
yeah, I don't have any moves. So thank you everyone for tuning in. But we're gonna just talk it out, I guess, real quick on this episode. Yeah, analytics is data without context, unpopular opinion. I actually don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I do think there's a lot of times where people just, especially if there's a lot of bad data that can be used, like yards per carry, QB wins, stuff like that.
1000% yards per carry. It's a terrible metric.
I saw Damian Pierce leading the league with 9.8 yards per carry or something like that. I was like, that means nothing to me. But what I would find interesting is, and I think eventually we could do studies like this, where it's like, from an analytical standpoint, just not even thinking about film, like let's look at a day 2 senior wide receiver versus a day 3 junior wide receiver, and look at who's hit, who hasn't, and how it compares. Because I often find I go too far of the way of just being like, oh, he's a senior, I don't really want to draft him, where I take juniors with bad profiles and pick them over. But at the same time, there are players like Amon Ra who would be falling into that day 3 bucket that, you might have been. And Amon Ra, I always would have felt more comfortable taking over a Tutu Atwell or a D. Eskridge, or I don't know, put your other kind of senior wide receiver in that range there. Yeah, I don't know. We're getting very nuanced at this point, though.
Well, you're completely right. I mean, I did all my grades. I actually might be able to pull it up if we're not doing this stock market stuff anymore. Hold on a second.
Well, I was just looking at those grades too. The 2021 draft.
Yeah,
I mean, some
2021
some of
draft.
mine,
I went.
some of mine
I
were
was
pretty
on
bad.
crack
Yeah,
in this
some of mine,
draft with all the receivers that I scouted.
some of mine were pretty. I mean, just Terrace Marshall in general. Um,
Dude,
but
I went nuts this year. I scouted 67 or 66 something receivers, which is like,
jeez,
what the fuck is the point? I
yeah, yeah.
I Terrell Jana, for
WAP,
example.
WAP. I remember you scouting WAP. Um,
Um, it's just like, what the hell is the point? All these guys are like struggle to practice squad kind of guys.
remember
Um,
Tamorian Terry and
yeah, Tamari Terry, and he got
with
arrested
murder
immediately.
charges. Yeah, yeah.
That
Um,
was great. He was actually a really good player too. It's
yeah, I
unfortunate
liked
what
him. He
happened.
was so I'm looking at my I had him pre-draft in like the third round. Yeah, 307 pre-draft, and then he got arrested. And so I was like, all right, well, no more
I'll try
Tamori
to
and
make
Terry.
this bigger if anyone's interested.
Um,
Um,
what
yeah,
sparked this
but
though was Amon Ra. Sorry, one sec. Because I don't know if you saw the newest Hard Knocks. I haven't yet, but I did see a clip
no, I've
where
not.
Amon Ra St. Brown was listing the 16 receivers drafted ahead of him. And then I was like going back and I was like, all right, like how many of them did I have above Amon Ra? And I think the answer was I think he was my wide receiver 12. And how many of them like would I still have above him? And I think the answer was like 7 or 8. So
This is pre-draft, and I think this is more for NFL. It was like a weird combo of NFL and fantasy. I had him as where is he? Amon Ra, Amon Ra. I had him as wide receiver 9, 10, wide receiver 10.
and that's roughly where I'd have him right now. Like I wouldn't put him over Jalen Waddle, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith. I think I still would rather have Rondell Moore, but I mean that's
I
kind
mean,
of
I
where I
flat out
start
missed
drawing the
so
line.
bad on Jalen Waddle. Um,
Yeah, I was above consensus on Jalen Waddle. I have him as my 110, but I mean Najee Harris at 202 and Travis Etienne at 203 were where
yeah, I'm
I
pit.
still stand
I
with
was
that.
really low on Terrace Marshall, and I still didn't put him low enough. I should have just sacked up and just been like
Yeah,
undrafted.
yeah, 109. It was probably not where he should have gone.
Um, yeah, I actually this is something I tried to not do this as much this year, but like adjusting rankings from pre-draft and post-draft and things like that, trying not to because I just feel like my receiver rankings for this year were much better pre-draft than they were post-draft, and I started taking in weird factors and getting way too emotional with things.
Hmm.
Um, so like Traylon Burks this year was probably a pretty good example of that, or Garrett Wilson right now, right, where it's like he might fall a couple spots in ADP for whatever reason. Maybe he's just not getting hype. Like, um, I mean, it's just funny. I remember I loved Cade Johnson's film. I was just like, dude, I don't care that he's a redshirt senior, that he's small and not an athlete. This guy's going to be good. Like,
Yeah. I remember we were doing the breakdowns last year, and I was like, "Who is Kay Johnson?"
I thought he was going to be a beast. He reminded me a lot of Deontay, his cuts and stuff. And see, like, what's funny, Amari Rogers didn't like him pre-draft, thought he was a bust. Then all of a sudden, come the end of this, end of the training camp season stuff, I traded a third for Amari Rogers. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
You did? Oh.
Yeah, in one of
No,
my leagues, I traded a
that's
third.
tough.
I'm such a fucking dumbass for that.
Seth Williams, I ain't punished enough for not going day 2. Because I dropped him down a decent amount, but I just didn't put him
Dude,
as far
another
down as I
guy I
should have.
thought was gonna be nasty was Myron Mitchell. Not that I thought he was gonna be nasty. I just thought he was a good little value pick for an NFL team. Um, yeah, he
Yeah,
went
I'm going.
undrafted.
I'm going through these memes, and
See, I'll tell you what. For
I think
these
we're
day three
fine.
guys, redshirt senior seems to not really be a great sign.
Yeah, well, you're like 23, 24 years old entering the league. which is like
because I don't.
Juju's still like that age at this point.
Yeah, I don't really care as much as you about the senior versus junior thing. I do think it matters, but like everything else, I think it requires a little bit more context than just, oh, I'm only going to draft juniors and I'm never going to draft seniors.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all things being relatively equal. I'm gonna take the junior over the senior. So that's like
mhm.
I'll always take a Sky Moore over a Chris Olave kind of thing. Um, which is definitely not consensus. That's
I
also
really
how.
don't think it's the craziest thing in the world, though. That kind of take.
Yeah,
I think
I guess where I get more absurd is like I Terrace Marshall. But I think actually a decent amount of people had Terrace Marshall over Kadarius Tony. But
Oh yeah, I mean Terrace Marshall was in a lot of people's top 5 receivers for at least a good amount of the process, and I mean I can at least understand why, right? Because the guy's a physical beast. You can kind of blame a lot of the not great early production on the fact that he had two of the best young receivers in not only just
mhm.
college football but NFL right now in front of him. And then when he did have an opportunity, it's not like he didn't produce. The guy had like 1,100 yards in the SEC.
And a bunch of touchdowns. Not
Um,
the touchdowns.
I don't know, I just thought he was kind of lazy on film, and that I just kind of felt like he was a product of volume and almost like he was the incumbent to the wide receiver one position. And as the season went on, they started just rotating a lot of other receivers at LSU, and it's like he wasn't really great to me.
Yeah, but the issue with that is, and what's his issue now is he's just always injured. He was battling a foot injury senior year or junior year at LSU, sorry, and then that followed him into this year too. He had that foot injury. Um, he's kind of
Junior
just more of an
small
injury
school
prone guy.
throws a wrench in the works. The argument about data is whether it's showing causation or correlation. I rarely see someone prove causation, so the data yields no actionable information if it's just correlation. Honestly, the big problem that I have with a lot of data analytics, and this is something that I struggle with, because like I do software shit, right? And I use a lot of, not a lot, but I use data analytics tools.
Hmm.
But I don't like posting data analytics stuff that I like you kind of just said, isn't actionable. If I'm going to do a study and post it on the pod or on Twitter or something, I want it to be like truly actionable and not just a bunch of jargon to just generate clicks for no reason.
Well,
Um,
my bigger issue with like a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of issues I have with like content creators, the whole threads and everything, and the look at me kind of stuff. Which, I mean, I get it. It's probably necessary evil, and it's probably why we're not bigger than what we are currently, because we don't really do that stuff. Um, but it's the stuff like buy. I'll just say like buy Juju Smith-Schuster, buy this, sell this. Well, for who? For what? Like, what am I?
yeah,
Where are
and
my
in what
thresholds? Where are
league,
my
right?
cutoffs? Yeah, and roster construction too. Like, I don't know. Let's just say someone's telling you to sell Nick Chubb, and someone's telling you to buy Juju. Should I sell Nick Chubb for Juju, assuming like they're equal value and everything? But like what about my roster construction? How should my team look? How many running backs
Hmm.
should I have? How many wide receivers? And it's just like they there are people that do good studies and stuff that I like, but for the most part, so many of the content creators are like, these are the 5 guys that you should buy heading into your season. And it's like,
Yeah, with
thanks,
no
but like,
context around
yeah,
how to go about it.
yeah,
I
like
agree with
sure,
that.
sure, I'd love to get Trey Lance on my team. Well, I'm probably gonna have to overpay like crazy to get him. Like, at what point do I say no? It's not worth it, and that is almost never.
It's
We're
probably a
definitely
majority of the
guilty of
time
that
that you're
too.
saying no, it's not worth it. Then I'm going
Yeah,
out and buying Trey Lance.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I think the problem I have with a lot of data analytics stuff is that it kind of just tells you what you already know, right? So, for example, a lot of people are getting into projections, especially this time of the year. They're like, they're going through, they're making their own projections. The thing is that it's just going to tell you some variation of the top 30 receivers that were the top 30 receivers last year. Okay, yeah, maybe like one or two displacements here and there, but it's like you're not going to have a top 30 receivers where Cooper Cup isn't at like the top, right? And then from there you can kind of guess, okay, well, I can name you probably the next 9 or at least 9 of the next 10, and then so
Hmm.
on and so forth down the list. So it's like, is this really providing me any value, or is this just telling me what already has happened?
Hmm.
Now, that's
Well,
not all of it, but that just seems to be what a lot of it is.
I also love when people are like, you know, so and so when they're doing their whole projections and everything. Like, I'll just use Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool is in line for 125 targets this year, and it's just like, well, he hasn't had that many targets yet in his career. Like, how are we giving him this in this projection? Like, how are you coming to this conclusion? I mean, that was just kind of a random one, but like, I've seen issues with that. With, I think Rashad Penny was a big example of it, where it's like Rashad Penny's projected for X amount of carries, and it's like, well, how are you coming to this conclusion? Like, how are you coming to this? And it's, I don't know. It's very easy for someone to say like Jonathan Taylor is in line for 285 carries this year, but not have anything to back it up.
Well, yeah, it's also like, what are you going off of? Are you, because like, for example,
Hmm.
right? I did a projection last year in one video with Najee Harris's um just projecting his rookie season. I looked at Matt Canada's offense from previous years, and Matt Canada never gave a running back for since 2011, the Wisconsin team that was nasty with running backs. They had Melvin Gordon, um, James White, and was it Monte Ball, I think, was on that squad. They had some dudes running the ball for
Hmm.
that offense. I think they won or lost against Nebraska in like the Big Ten championship. The Rex Burkhead. Who is that receiver that was on the Jets that was supposed to be Anunwa, I believe his name was.
Quincy
Yeah,
Enunwa.
Quincy Anunwa was on that team. That was a really interesting game. Um, Sorry, it's just
Memory
off
fault
the
on that
rails a
one.
little bit there. um, but yeah, I looked at all those offenses of Matt Canada. He never gave a running back more than 65% of the total rushing attempts in all of the offenses he's ever coordinated. So for the Steelers, I was like, well, shit, there's no way that as a true scholar, I'm like, I looked at the last 10 years. Never a running back above 65%. Najee Harris ain't getting 65%. No way, Jose. Guess what? This dude got 95.9% of the snaps. Like, not even just the workload. This dude never left the field. Like, it was ridiculous. So, like, you're just never going to be able to account for those weird, just I don't know what you call it. Just those weird scenarios that just haven't happened before.
Yeah, and I think another issue too is just going to be like, oh, hold on, Joe saying even something like dynasty player rankings are totally different for contenders versus rebuilders, but no content creators that I found consider that. I will say, I think their rankings are trash. Like, it's part of the reason why I've done it. But Dynasty Nerds does have this. Yeah, you have to pay for it. You have to be a Nerd Herd member. So I haven't looked at it in 2 years. They had like a free trial where I was like, oh, let me check it out. Um, they do have a contenders versus rebuilders rankings, but yeah, I just think the rankings are trash. So it's like, how does it help?
Yeah, good
Um,
in theory, but poor execution.
mhm, mhm. um, I lost my train of thought though. I don't know what we were just talking about. Sorry.
Yeah, that's another nuanced topic. Maybe we should talk about that more because I feel like the more that I play Dynasty, the less that I really care about if I'm a rebuilder, a contender, or this or that. The one thing I have noticed though, especially like because I think there's a lot of people that consider themselves rebuilders when they're not, their team's not a rebuilding team. It's like I'm sorry. If you're a team that has 6 firsts in the 23 draft and another 5 firsts in the 24 draft and still has good young players, you're not a rebuilder. Like, you have enough value. If you wanted to today, you can trade all of those picks and put together a playoff team. 1000%. A rebuilding team is a team that, in terms of value, is not going to make the playoffs, right? You want to see a rebuild team, take a look at the orphan team we took over. That team sucked, and it still sucks. That's a rebuilding team. Like,
Yeah.
Zay Jones is arguably our wide receiver one, right? We can't trade for a rebuilding. No, not actually. I guess technically Jarvis Landry or Wandale would be adding a little bit of exaggeration here, JT. All right, don't expose me.
Yeah, you had me like panicking, like, oh my God, Zay Jones. Way better.
But that's a
Jarvis
rebuilding
Landry.
team to me. Is that in terms of value and in terms of actual points you're going to score, you suck. There is
Yeah.
no way you can turn it around.
We're starting Olamide Zacchaeus in our super flex spot in that league. That gives you a true rebuilding team.
But like, going back to that, if you're a rebuilding team, I don't really think it impacts a lot of the player values necessarily and the way I would rank players. But it definitely means any sort of player that is going to go down in value that I am too scared to hold on to long term, because it's almost like a bit of a difference, right? Like, maybe Christian McCaffrey. If you think in 2 years, maybe not Christian McCaffrey. I don't really know. Because you're right. What old player would you want to hold for 2 years that you're thinking can really give you good years that's not worth selling now? But besides the point,
now.
it's just you can't hold the old players. And the other thing too, though, is that you can't trade your picks. Like, you can. It's not like, oh, well, you're not allowed to trade your picks, or it's not like anyone won't buy them. Obviously, everyone wants your picks. But if you are a terrible team, your second round pick is going to be an early second. It's guaranteed. Our second round pick is guaranteed to be top 3 in a strong draft class. We are not going to get a late first price for that second round pick. I mean, it makes sense. It's an early second, not a late first. But I can guarantee you, come that draft, and you look at the players that are going to be from picks 13 to 15, that pick is going to be valued as a late first. It's going to happen, most likely. At least I think. So you're kind of just pigeonholed in this spot where you don't want any older players, because your team is not contending. So what's the point, right? You're just drafting or trading for depreciating assets, or holding a depreciating asset. And your assets are less liquid because they're more likely to go up in value than you are to trade them at the current discount for a player that's going to go more up in value than your draft pick is. And like,
Yeah.
when you're a team that can at least contend, it's almost like I'm going to coin a term, the contender's gift. And I've completely taken advantage of this in a lot of my leagues. If you have a hyped young player, let's take T. Higgins for example, right? You could trade T. Higgins for whatever T. Higgins' value essentially is. What is T. Higgins' value? 2 firsts? A first and a second?
I don't know. And a second.
Let's say he's worth.
He's a 2023 early first.
Okay, let's say you're getting a first and a second. Let's just call that even, or take a receiver that's slightly worse than T. Higgins.
Okay.
And he's worth a first and a second, maybe like Deontay Johnson, right? Someone's paying a first and a second for your Deontay Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I can easily throw onto that trade where I get Jamison Crowder and I'll give you a third. And I can pick up players that will give me wide receiver 2 level production and still get the value of Deontay Johnson in draft picks. And because everyone, at least to me, has completely undervalued draft picks and still does undervalue future picks, you can kind of just snowball this after a couple years. and all of a sudden you're going to end up in a spot where you have a shit ton of draft picks and a good team. Because I think that the time value of money that, or I guess in this case, the time value of draft picks that people put on future picks is way too high. The discount's way too high. So, like 2024, the
Mhm.
2023 picks are worth way more than 2024 picks. The 2024 picks are worth essentially the same as 2022 picks for pick value. I think the 2024 draft, I know like 4 players that are going to be coming out in the 2024 draft, but I can almost guarantee you that that draft is going to be way better than this draft. And why is it discounted? Just because you can't use the play? This is fucking Dynasty. I don't care if in my startup draft I sack 1 year to have 5 years of good production, as long as I know the league is going to be existing.
That is the big question, though. Like you gotta know the league's gonna be running.
Listen, I have never had a Dynasty league fold.
I haven't either. But I haven't.
I am in, I think,
I'm
11
relatively
leagues or
new.
12 leagues. I have home leagues. I have leagues with half people I know, half people I don't. I have leagues where I don't know a single soul, and none of them have folded. Maybe I'm just lucky. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, but it is a point in time too where I think the dynasty community is growing very heavily. So it's easier to fill spots. It's not like a dying out thing. So yeah, I guess you're right. Um, anything else from chat?
No.
No.
I don't think I'd ever leave a dynasty league unless there was like a really extenuating circumstance.
Yeah,
I don't really plan on it.
I've never really considered leaving one. I know that is a thing. There are like leagues that you could like buy and sell and flip and everything. I forget what that
I mean,
website
I
is.
guess that might be a that's weird though. I just feel like as someone who creates content for Dynasty, I'd feel like a piece of shit leaving a league. I think the only situation, actually, there was one situation where I wanted to leave a league. It's this one league I'm in. We've just destroyed rookie drafts. It was the initial 3rd and 20 Dynasty league, and we just like our team's kind of OP. So like,
Not 3rd and 20. The people that are in 3rd and 20, like you're
no,
talking
no,
about the
no, no. It
first
was
league you
almost like the.
made with.
So yeah, the first
Yeah.
we instead of doing the orphan league, which we kind of reference now, me and Steed, when the regular 3rd and 20 podcast was going on, we did a draft and we did an episode where we went over our draft strategy and everything, and then drafted. I don't think we did it live because it was a slow draft, but then we kind of went over the results and what we wanted to do and how we thought we did and whatever. And I mean, we kind of just drafted really well, right? We picked up Justin Jefferson and Stephon Diggs in like the 8th round, and just like a bunch of really good value picks. Like last year, we drafted Javante at pick 11. I was trying to trade up for him at 105, and every pick from then
Yeah,
on, he just
Javonte at
landed
111.
lasted to 111. And our teams, I mean, it's not that we're pretty definitely near the top. We won last year, and like to me, it's like I just don't. Where's the challenge at that point? Like, okay, I can kind of coast. And it's listen, I don't mind winning leagues. It's not something that I'm terribly unhappy with. It's just that is a league where if someone wanted it and they're like, yeah, I'll pay you the buy-in for it, like, dude, yeah, go ahead and have it. I don't care. Like, I've already conquered that team.
Yeah, I memean, market value though should be buy-in plus if you have such a sick
I
team.
am. I don't
Yeah.
care about making like. I don't know. I don't really care about making money too much in the only reason I'd want to make money in dynasty leagues is to join more or pay for my existing buy-ins. I don't really care about like, oh, I've profited this much. It's like I've had it where I don't even make that much money from winning leagues. Like I'm king of losing in the the championship. That's my mo. I make a bunch of championships and I lose them all, but it pays for all the buy-ins every year, so I don't care.
Reroll.
All right, this has gone wildly too long, but I enjoyed it.
Ciao, chat. Ciao, Joe. Ciao, Isley. Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Yeah, we'll come up with some more segments like the ones we talked about, but have it a little bit more structured for the pod next week and everything. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Um, Peace out. Have a good one.